Hi, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more people if they're coming. So just bear with us for a minute or two.
Why don't we have them, Sito, type in the chat where they're from?
Yeah. So I hope I won't butcher your names. Hiruta is from Virginia and has a 10 and a 3-year-old. Marissa lives in Sweden. I know she's from South America, I think, and has 2 kids, 6 and 8. Oh God, I'm not sure I pronounce this right. Annis is from Canada, 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I'm from Italy and I have a 12-year-old.
And I am from Virginia. I'm from Northern Virginia, Harita, about an hour outside of DC. And I have 2 kids. I know it's shocking. You guys won't believe that they actually get to this point. But one just turned 25 and the other's 26. So I've got 2 grown kids.
Okay, Amy, shall we go? I know that quite a few people could not do it live because the timing doesn't work for them. We can't make it work for everyone, obviously.
Right.
Because we're worldwide now.
Yay!
So we're recording this, and whoever isn't here now can watch it recorded. So shall we start, Amy?
Yeah, we wanted to start off, making it a little bit more personal so that you guys could see a little bit. So we want to start off with a family member of each of us. Now, these are not our actual family members, but they resemble very closely our family members. And the first one is Sita's dog, Kix. He is so stinking cute, you guys. And he does actually kind of look like this.
He does.
And we just wanted to say hello. And of course, we can't have her dog on there without having mine. And my chocolate lab, we are all really excited that you're here. We're glad that you're joining us. And we're pumped to get started and share some incredible information so that you can get on the road to where you want to be.
Yes. Okay, I'll start. So I'm Sita. I currently live in Italy, and I am a life coach and a mindfulness coach and a meditation teacher, and a huge fan of Mind Valley. That's why I offered this to do this for the Mind Valley tribe, and a few people who are not in Mind Valley, but most of you are Mind Valley people. I have a son. Well, we live in Italy. I said that, didn't I? I have a son who will be 13 on Wednesday. And at the moment, my son buys designer clothes whenever he wants to. Not whenever. He buys the clothes he wants to. And at that age, they want to have designer clothes. He buys a gaming equipment that he needs because at that age, they think they need really good gaming equipment. You'll get there. Don't think you won't get there. I thought that a few years ago, but you'll get there, unfortunately. And he's actually recently started to research an age-appropriate investment for some money that he has. So he is incredibly money savvy, and I'm very, very proud of him. And I'm how should I say that? He's not always been like that, and he's not. Don't think that he's a money genius. Not at all. He's just a very, very normal teenage boy, and he's not having more money than any of his friends of the same age. He gets exactly the same money, if not probably less. The difference to his friends is that he is financially intelligent and very money savvy, and we'll show you how he got there. And I'm not worried about his financial future at all. I'm confident and convinced that when he moves out of our home, he will be absolutely fine financially. However, this was not always the case. Almost 13 years ago, I was sitting on our sofa with my little baby in my arm. He was 10 days old, and tears were streaming down my face. I was in tears and so scared and worried. And my husband came in and he said, "What is going on? Is something the matter with the baby?" And I said, "No, I'm just so worried. In 18 years, he's going to move out. And how's he going to cope? How's he going to cope? How am I ever going to teach him to live by himself. I can't do it. And I was so scared. And granted, I was probably full of hormones and very confused because I've just had a baby. But I was really worried about his future. And I'm sure as a parent, you all know that feeling. We all worry about our children. And then when he was about 5 or 6, we started to think about how are we going to educate him about finance? Are we going to give him pocket money? Are we going to give him an allowance? You know, what do you do? How do you do it? And I started to ask around, and I asked friends and family, and nobody had answers that satisfied me or where I thought, wow, this is brilliant. And I didn't do anything because I didn't know how to, until I met my wonderful friend and now business partner, Amy, who had the answers to all my questions. And, you know, we were friends, and we just started chatting, and I asked her the same questions that I asked everybody at that time about money. And her kids are older than mine, so I thought maybe she knows. And she did. And we discovered, or I'd actually discovered, I think, that Amy had a talent that she didn't even know she had. She knew how to teach children to become financially intelligent and money savvy. And she had done it with her children, and she had done it with other children, her children's friends and family, nieces, nephews, without even knowing what she was doing. Isn't that a superpower? Unbelievable. So I said to her, you know, this needs to go out to the world. We have to teach this to parents, because the worry of what is going to happen to my child is so all-consuming, and it apparently isn't necessary. But people don't know it. And, you know, so our mission, my absolute passion at the moment, is for other parents to learn that it's actually not difficult to teach your kids about money and money management, and to teach it to as many people as possible. We would love to see a future generation of debt-free, money-savvy, financially secure kids. And yeah, that's my story, really. I'll give it over to Amy now.
As Sita said, I had no idea I had some superpower. I thought I was the only unicorn in the world that didn't know how to raise their children to be money savvy, or how to teach them financial literacy. And now, just to give you a picture of where your children could be, I have, like I said, I have 2 children, the ages of 25 and 26, and they are already well on their way to be millionaires. They have well over $10,000 in their retirement funds. They have between a year and 2 years of an emergency fund. And they did this living outside of my home with no help from us. My oldest put herself through grad school without a dime from me, a bank, or anybody else. And my other child has, saved the money, funded her retirement fund, all while living outside the house and making less than $50,000 a year. So for people who say, they have to make millions, they need to make 6 figures to be able to do that. My children are evidence that no, when you implement very simple things, they compound very quickly. And my youngest, who made less money, was even able to take a trip to Europe. As I said, we're from the States. Take a trip to Europe totally cash, while still funding everything and living on her own. So if my kids can do it, they're not, prodigies. They're not, well, I'd like to think that they're geniuses, but they're no different than anybody else. And, but it wasn't that way. Kind of like Sita back in the day. I had, for lack of a better term, a financial disaster. For those of you who can remember, 9/11 here was quite a critical time here. And after that happened, my husband happens to work for a commercial airline. And as many of you know, the airlines were devastated after 9/11. And overnight, our income was literally cut in half. Now, we had just moved into our dream house. I was a stay-at-home mom. We had the 2 girls. I had 2 dogs, and our, finances came to a crashing halt. Not only did our income get slashed, but so did our retirement. Got decimated. And I'm going to be honest with you. I spent many a day crying myself to sleep. Those things where you like sit on the kitchen floor eating a tub of ice cream. There were many of those occasions. But eventually I dug myself out. And eventually I tell people I put on my big curl pants and I stopped blaming everyone. I stopped blaming my parents for not teaching me. I stopped blaming myself for not knowing better. I stopped blaming, the terrorists that, ran into the buildings. I just stopped blaming. And I said, okay, now we just need to move forward. So I put on my big girl pants and I was determined to figure a way. But more importantly, I realized that the things that I had been taught were all that I had to teach my children. And those things that I learned got me into the situation I was in. And I wanted them to have a better life than me. So not only did I need to learn, but I also needed to make sure I taught them so that when catastrophe struck, they would be well prepared and not be a victim and not be scrambling like I did back in after 9/11. I'm happy to report, and unfortunately, another disaster struck. We're in the midst of COVID, and they are not financially impacted by that at all because they're prepared. And it all started with me doing some very simple things that drastically changed their outcome. And that's what we're here to share with you today.
Yep. Okay, just a bit of housekeeping very quickly so you know what's coming. You're going to need pen and paper because we will do a few exercises where you want to write down some stuff. So if you don't have it, now's the time to grab it. I think the total time will be about maybe an hour, maybe a little bit more from now on. We'll have a short break in between. And yeah, we will be talking most of the time, but we'll give you opportunity to ask questions in between and in the end. So if you have a question or something that you don't understand or you want to talk about more, just make a note and then tell us when we'll get there. I did say this very loud and clear, and I hope you heard it. We are not selling. This is not one of those typical workshops, webinars, masterminds, masterclass, whatever you want to call it, where in the end we are pitching a sale. We are not doing that. We do have a course on this, yes, and we will tell you later where you can get it, but we won't sell it to you. I really just wanted to offer this to the Mindvalley community and some other friends that I have made on Facebook. And we're not selling, we're just giving this as a gift because we care so much about it. It's really, really, really our passion project.
Yep.
So I think we can start. Have you got your pen and paper ready?
All right. We're going to start. The best way to know how much knowledge you've gained from this is to know where you're at now. So we're going to do a quick self-assessment and ask you a few questions. Go ahead and write your answers down. The first question is, how frustrated are you to spend money on toys and clothes that are not respected? I don't know about you guys, but I've heard from other parents where they buy their child a soccer ball and the kid, kicks it out into the street and leaves it overnight and it's lost within 24 hours. Or they forget where they put it, or they let their friend borrow it and they never get it back. Or like Sita said, with clothing, you buy them really nice things, and then at the end of the season, you see that the tags are still on and they've never worn the darn thing. So how frustrated are you that you're spending money on toys and on clothes and things and they're not being respected and appreciated by your children?
Okay, well, this is definitely mine. How worried are you about your kids' financial future? I am a worrier, I have to say. I am a reformed warrior. I'm not a warrior anymore. But I was very good at worrying about everything and everyone. And of course, I worry a lot. I used to worry a lot about my child's financial future. So
Where are you?
not worry. That's very good, Ashley. You're lucky
All
on that one.
right, question number 3. How guilty do you feel about your ability to give your kids what they want and what you think they need? Many of us feel that our children need to have things that are similar to their friends, whether that's a trip to Disney or a PlayStation or a Switch or whatever the most recent, gotta have it item is. And how guilty do you feel if if you're not able to give your children what you think or feel that they need in order to fit in with their peers?
Okay, how fearful are you that you will pass on your relationship with money to your kids? I don't know about you, and it depends on your age, obviously. My parents were born during the Second World War. So obviously they have a different relationship to money and probably quite a scarcity mindset. And, and they had a difficult relationship with money. Did they pass that on to me? Probably, yes. Are you worried that you are passing some of those on to your children?
And you should be doing like on a scale, whether you're doing 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. We didn't really tell you, but obviously the more fearful, the higher your numbers are, and the less fearful, the lower they are.
Whatever works for you. I mean, this is just for you to see a little bit where you are and to wrap your mind around the subject.
Right.
How confident are you in your ability to teach your kids to become millionaires? And we say millionaires on purpose because actually millionaires nowadays isn't such a unachievable goal anymore.
Well, and in all honesty, Sita, after talking with financial planners, they're telling us that in order for our children to be able to retire one day, they are going to have to be millionaires by the time they get to that age, or they won't be able to live in a manner that you would like them to live in. Because, as our cost of living increases, they're going to need to have more than $1 million, is what he had said. But at a very minimum, $1 million. And that also depends on where you live and your standard of living. But at each generation, it gets more and more expensive to live. And so your kids are going to need to have some substantial money saved. And how confident are you in your ability to, teach them at their level so that they have enough time to actually acquire that kind of money? All right.
Okay. So if you want to change or improve an area in your life, you need to create success habits. You need to create a habit that will achieve or bring you to success around that area. How do you do that? It's easier said than done. And if you want to learn a lot about that, there's a book that most of you will know, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it's called How to Change the Habit of Being Yourself. No, how to
create success habits, I think. Is
Yeah,
that it?
no, yeah, something like that. You'll find it if you look it up. Basically, I'm going to give you the 3 main ingredients to his recipe of how to create success habits, and that is knowledge. The second is action, and the third ingredient is repetition. And I'll give you examples how that works. So, for example, if you want to create a new habit, something new, something you haven't done yet, and you want to learn something new, you start with a knowledge. For example, you want to learn how to drive a car. First, you start with a theory. How do you actually physically drive a car? Then you take the action. You start actually driving the car. Then you repeat that again and again and again and again and again until it has become a habit. I'm sure most of you, if you drive, you don't even think about driving anymore. When I was learning to drive, I remember I actually had to concentrate to stay on the lane and not go over the lane, because even just steering was something I had to do consciously. Now you do it unconsciously, Why? Because you've done it so many times that it has become a habit. If you want to change a habit, for example, you want to become financially successful, you need to get the knowledge first. In this case, knowledge means the consciousness and the awareness of what you might be doing wrong. Because if you don't feel financially successful at the moment, you probably have habits that are not success habits. And then you need to take action on those bad habits, I call them. And you need to take that action again and again and again and again until the bad habit has become a new habit, a success habit, right? So why is it so difficult to change our habits? What makes it so difficult to change a habit? The reason we often can't change, or people find it challenging to change, is because our bad habits live. Where do they live, Amy? They live in the subconscious.
They live in a part of our mind called the subconscious mind or unconscious mind. And that's where the majority of our thoughts and our beliefs live. And being a Mind Valley individual, like most of you are, and those of you who aren't, maybe you've heard that most of our conscious mind is very, very small. And it's depicted really well in this slide. Similar to an iceberg, you only see the very tip top. You only know the conscious mind is only that little bit that you see. And so much of what we think, feel, and do is subconscious or unconscious. And unveiling some of that, the more we unveil and the more conscious our beliefs and our thoughts are, then we're able to actually decide whether or not they work for us and make those changes that Sita was talking about.
Yeah. So you're all here to learn how to teach your children to become financially successful. And how do we do that? If chances are that you are educating your kids more or less the same way you were educated. Because unless we are conscious and aware of how we're educating, and if you have, maybe some of you have done Dr. Shafali's quest on conscious parenting. If you haven't, I absolutely recommend it. It is unbelievably helpful if you have children. So most of our parenting is done unconsciously, and we don't even know that we're doing it unconsciously. So that's even more unconscious, which means that you're probably educating your children in an unconscious way, the same way your parents educated you. Now, that in itself maybe is not such a problem yet. But if your parents were unconscious about their parenting, then they educated you the way they were educated. And if you go back like that, you know, your grandparents and your great-grandparents and all that, you might actually teach your children financial habits or thoughts or beliefs that come from the last, well, not the last century, even the century before. So they're absolutely outdated. And if you don't break that chain, you're never going to change and make your children successful, and you will struggle yourself. And we all want to live as successfully as possible in every area, so financially or any other life area. So the more conscious and aware you become, the more successful you can become. How do we do that, though? How do you get conscious, Amy?
Well, a lot of stuff that we think holds us back. And those are what we call our limiting beliefs. And like Sita said, a lot of them have been handed down either from parents or society or grandparents or even a teacher. And sometimes we've come up with those limiting beliefs just by viewing a situation. And when we're a child, our mind is not mature and developed enough. And so we've created a story. And I do this because we need to make sense of what we see. And as a child, we do it in a child's mind. And so we create those beliefs either by what our parents teach us, what society teaches us, or what we create ourselves after looking at various situations and trying to make sense of them. So we come up with those beliefs, whether you're aware of them or not. Most of us are not even aware of them. And that's the first step, is becoming aware of those beliefs.
Mm.
Like, Sita, tell them the example you had.
Yeah,
Of
I,
yours.
I had a belief which was so strong, and I didn't realize it for years and years and years. And actually, the underlying belief is money destroys your character. Money destroys your character. So people who have a lot of money are bad people. They have a bad character. Now, how could you possibly ever become abundant or wealthy if your subconscious thinks that? Because your subconscious is trained. The instinct of your subconscious is to keep you healthy and well, and a nice person. You know, it wants to protect you. If your subconscious thinks that when you become rich, you become a bad person, it won't allow you to become rich. So it will, it will bring you all these situations and make you react in a way that you're not financially successful. Now, how did I notice that I had that belief? Was whenever I saw somebody in an expensive car, my first reaction was, no, he's not a nice person. She's not a nice person. She's arrogant. She's not behaving nice. I don't know, she drives too fast or whatever. I always, whenever I saw somebody with an expensive car, I thought that was a bad person or a not nice person, which is not a nice thought at all, because I don't even know those people and I shouldn't think like that about them. So what did I do? So my knowledge was, I found out what I was thinking about those people, and that was instinctual. It was from my subconscious. I realized what I was thinking. Then I started to take actions. As soon as I realized what I was thinking, I started to take action. And what I did was, every time I saw somebody with an expensive car and I caught myself wanting to think bad thoughts about that person, I said nice things about that person. I just said, oh, wow, I'm sure they've brought something really nice to the world to be able to afford a car like that. Or, whatever, just think of something nice about that person. And I did that again and again and again and again. And to be honest, it took me more than a year. It took me a long time to not think bad thoughts about people with expensive cars anymore. And now I don't have that belief anymore. I still need to be a little bit aware of it. But usually when I see somebody in an expensive car now, I think, oh, nice person. I'm sure he or she has done something really great and deserves that beautiful car. So what did I do? And I'm going to talk about something that I absolutely love. And if you follow Vision, you'll know that word. Vision talks about rules, bullshit rules, which is one of my favorite words. A bullshit rule is something that we have been taught in society, or it's just a subconscious programming almost that we get as little children just living in our world nowadays, that actually isn't true. So money destroys a character is a rule. Absolutely. Money doesn't grow on trees is a rule. You have to work hard to get money is a rule. So what I like to do is I imagine the rule. The rule is like a little thing, a little whatever creature that lives in my subconscious. And it just sits there and has a good time. And what I do is I get it and I grab it and I take it out of my subconscious and I put it in my conscious. And the way I imagine it is it's dressed in red. It's all dressed in red. And it's just sitting there being little mean rule. And I put it in my conscious and I change its clothes. I give it a makeover. So I dress it all in green, for example. Take the red clothes off, put the green clothes on. And every time I turn my back, it strips. And so then I need to become conscious of it again and aware, and I undress it again and put the green clothes back on. And I do that for so many times that at some point my little Brule is so fed up with changing clothes that it's just going to stay in the green clothes. And then when it does that and it gets rid of the red clothes, I take it and I put it back into my subconscious. And it can stay there because now it's a little green man. and it will be a success habit. It's a good habit, and I don't even have to think about it anymore. It's automatic. So that's my story. That's my long-winded story about cars and my limiting belief. And I think Amy has one about your brother.
Yeah, now I don't know if you have a family member like this. And I will tell you that this is something that I became aware of recently. I've said it for years. How many of you have said something for years that, whether it's money doesn't grow on trees or things like that, it's just instinctual, it's a habit. Anybody have something habitual that you say? I used to say, I said used to, and it's still work. Excuse me, a work in progress. I used to say that my brother had the Midas touch because whenever I saw my brother do something, whether that was purchase a piece of property, he would renovate it and then he would sell it for more than he bought it for. Or he started a company and it grew and became very successful, and then he sold it for a lot of money. And I see all these things that he does, and I said, he got the Midas touch gene and I didn't. My sister and I joked about it. And I thought, one day when I caught myself and I thought, is there really a Midas touch gene? Now, I don't know if any of you are doctors, but I'm going to preface this by saying I am not, but I am pretty sure that there's no DNA or no gene that is an actual Midas touch gene that some people have and some people don't. And when I realized that it was something that it was untrue, I basically said to myself, is this true? And when I realized it wasn't true, I then could squash it, or like Sita said, change the close of it. For me, I just tried to, or not tried, but I just worked really hard on not saying that anymore. Every time it would come up, I would catch myself. It's when you start, what I found is that when you have something that's subconscious that becomes conscious, the first step is being aware. And so you become aware of your thought just after you have it. And then the next time you have the thought, you have it, you realize you're having the thought just as you're having it. And then after doing that for a while, you end up realizing you have the thought just before you open your mouth. And so each time the window gets smaller and smaller, and you can finally get to the point where you don't have that thought anymore. I thought I had worked this one out, you guys, I'll be honest. And I caught myself saying something, getting ready. I was just getting ready to say, that's because I don't have that Midas touch gene. And I caught myself and I was like, that is not true. So when you have a limiting belief, one of the things you can do is just ask yourself, when you realize you have it, is it true? Is it true that rich people, or that people who drive fancy cars are awful, mean people? No, not all of them. Is it true that my brother has some erroneous gene that I didn't get, my sister didn't get, only my brother has? And P.S., I did have this conversation with him not that long ago, and he laughed. He said, what are you talking about? What about all the times where I bought something and flipped it and lost my shirt? Or I started a company and I got investors and we were open for 18 months and then we had to close and I lost all their money. Why don't you remember those things? You only remember the things that were successful. And that's because what you believe, you will continue to look for things to support that. That's part of your reticular activator. And so breaking that rule or asking yourself, is it true? You'll stop looking for things that support those beliefs that don't really serve you.
Yeah, and I think another really, really important rule is, and Ken Honda talks about this a lot. And again, if you are in Mind Valley, you'll know Ken Honda. He does money EQ. So the rule is there's not enough money. You know, we think there's a finite amount of money in the world. Who says so? You know, it's like, do you ever wake? You know, we never wake up in the morning and the first thought we have is there going to be enough air for everyone in this world? And I know we're recording this at the time of Corona, and maybe this is a bad example because some people do not have enough air at the moment. But generally, we don't worry about having enough air. if you imagine, you can just close your eyes for a second and imagine you're standing in front of a beach and you have a little bucket or something in your hand and you're walking towards the sea and you look right and you look left and there's people everywhere. The whole beach is full of people and everybody's holding a bucket in their hand. And you all want to get a bucket of water. Do you worry that there's not enough water in the ocean? Not really. Even though the whole beach is full of people, you don't worry that the water is going to run out. So why do we constantly worry about money running out? Is it true? And that's what Amy says. Is it true? The reason I'm telling you this is a lot of us have a scarcity mindset, so we worry about money all the time, and that's quite easy to change. And there's a few really nice tricks that you can use. Ken Honda uses one that's called arigato in, arigato out. He's Japanese. Arigato means thank you. So every time he spends money, as he gives that money or his card to whoever he pays, he says arigato out. So he thanks the money for having been with him and he blesses it for the next person who gets it. And every time he receives money, he does the same. He says arigato in, and he thanks the money for coming to him for as long as it needs to be with him. Another one you can do is, I call it the socksicize. Almost everyone has too many socks. Almost all of us have more socks than we actually need. So every morning when you open your sock drawer or your wardrobe where you have your socks, just look at how many socks you have and think, oh, wow, I'm so abundant. I have more than I need. That's super easy. Another thing you can do, and I think I got this from somebody in a Mind Valley group, is you can have a little journal, and every time you spend money, you take that receipt and you put it in the journal and you write something really nice, a gratitude, something really positive about that money, you know, either why you love what you could buy or that you're grateful that you had the money to pay that bill, you know, just something positive. Spin it instead of always thinking, oh God, that was expensive. Why did I spend that money? Spin it into a positive one. And when you get gifts as well, like I think Amy got a really expensive gift once and it drove you mad, didn't it? It spiraled you.
It did. My husband was very generous and he went out and got me this really beautiful button down blue Oxford shirt. And at the time, we did I had a scarcity mindset. I didn't feel like we could really afford it. Our children were little. We were still in my mind struggling. And I say in my mind, struggling. And he wanted to get me this gift and he went out and he was, it'll match your blue eyes. And he was really kind. And I opened it and I was like, oh my God. It was $100 for a shirt. And all I could think of was how many groceries I could buy with that, how many dance lessons, how many clothes, how many this, how many that. And I'm sad to say I asked him to take it back. And later on, I learned something that somebody instilled in me, and they said, you know, instead of looking at it as, oh, it could have been spent over here and oh, it could have been spent over there, because many of us have, and I thought it was only me, but there are many people like me, I've found, who feel guilty spending money on themselves. They'd rather spend it on other people. So talking about spinning it, one way to spin it is to say, look at all the people you helped. Look, I helped the person who made the shirt. I helped the company that brought the shirt, the distribution, the trucking company. I helped the people that picked the cotton for the shirt. I helped all of these people. Each person got a little bit of my money. And so my money helped support so many people. And it wasn't then about me. It was that my husband wanted to give me his love in this way. And this has then helped so many other people. I wasn't taking, I was actually giving, and wrapping it in a different wrapping paper made it a lot easier for me to be aware of that limiting belief and be able to really work hard on changing that.
Yeah. And maybe you're wondering why we're talking such a long time about this. We haven't even talked about teaching your kids yet. But it is actually really important that if you want to teach something, you need to get your mindset right first. You will never. Our children are so clever. They don't, they don't listen to what we say. They absorb what we do and how we behave. You know that. So, in order to teach your kids successfully about money management, you need to get your money mindset right as well. So we're spending quite a lot of time on that because that's actually the foundation of success. And now it's your turn. Now we're going to do a little exercise. And we'd like you to, and don't do it immediately because we're going to put you into little groups, I think, and you can do it. You can do it together. And I'm going to write the questions in the chat as well, but I'll read them now as well. So we want you to list about 3 to 5 beliefs. Hold on, Amy. 3 to 5 thoughts about money that are not serving you. So rules, limiting beliefs, whatever you want to call them. And once you've figured those out, and you don't need to write it down, you can also discuss it with the person that we're going to put you together with. You can ask yourself,
these questions.
yeah,
You want to try and figure out, where did your belief come from? Were you little? And is your belief one that's from you, that you created, or from someone else that has been handed down to you, whether that was from your parents or a teacher or a family member, or maybe even a friend that gave you that horrible limiting belief? Where did it come from? And is it your belief? Do you actually believe that? Or was it something that someone gave you and you just adopted? And then the last question.
The last question is, what action can you do to change that belief? So like we just gave you the examples, our examples, my action with the cars, or people who have money are horrible people, was to just reaffirm that in a different way. Amy's action about her Midas touch brother Brule was to ask herself, is this true? Or if you think scarcity and you're worried about, do I have enough money? You can do a gratitude thing, or arigato inarigota, whatever works for you. So think about your limiting beliefs and what action can you take as of today to change that. And what we would like to do, because we do a lot of online workshops like this. Oh, I'll just skip the breakout session. Okay, that's fine. Hiruta has her kids that are making too much noise. So Amy will put Marissa, Anis, and Asli in one group. So the 3 of you go into a group and we'll in a breakout room. If you've not done that yet, as I said, we do quite a lot of workshops, and we find that the breakout rooms are a little bit uncomfortable, but very, very motivating and transformative. So we'll put you in a breakout room with the 3 of you to discuss it for 15 minutes. You do that whichever way works for you. If you want to do it, in turns of 5 minutes each, or whatever you want to do, share it, maybe give each other some ideas on the actions you could take. We'll make it 15 minutes so that maybe you also have time to go to the bathroom. After that break, we're going to do a meditation, and then we'll go into a little bit more action actually about your children, what you can do for your kids. So just use this time to think of your limiting beliefs and what you can do to change them. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in the room. You'll have 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you'll come back into the main room. Hopefully that'll give you enough time to chat and also use the bathroom.
Yeah. And I think you need to enter the room actively. You need to click on it. Is that right,
Okay.
Amy?
Here we go.
Have fun. All right, all back. Was that any good? Yeah, useful?
It was great. Thank you. It was very, very nice.
Good. You've got some action ready?
We did.
Excellent. Excellent.
Some awareness and some action. That's awesome.
All right. Good. Okay. So we've spent quite a long time now figuring out where you are yourself in your money mindset. And now we're going to spend a little bit of time finding out or visualizing where you actually want to be. And then we'll give you action steps how to get there. And we might go a little bit over an hour and a half, but I think I did initially say 2 hours, so it should be all right. I hope you have enough time. So I think a lot of you know this. If you are meditating or working with manifestations, the best way to reach your dream or to manifest your goals is to visualize them, visualize where you want to go, what you want. But that's not all, that's not enough. A lot of people stop there. They just visualize and then they think it's going to come their way, but it actually, there's a little bit missing. So what you need to do afterwards is you need to feel it as if you already had it. And that's really difficult, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Feel it as if you already had what you want, even if you don't have it at all yet. And then you need to amplify that feeling, so make it really strong. Because if you don't do that, you won't get the last step, which is inspired action. And I'm saying inspired action on purpose. It's not just action, it's inspired action. And I'm sure a lot of you know that too. Just action is something where you are almost forcing your way to where you want to go. Inspired action usually comes easily to you. It comes out of flow. You know, it's just it's easy because you're doing it with the right vibration, the right energy. So what we want to do now is help you visualize where you want to go, right? Amy.
Yes. Like Sita said, we want you to visualize what your life will be like without the limiting beliefs you just talked about. Now that you know what they are and you know the steps to get rid of them, your life is going to be free of them, and you are therefore not going to pass those beliefs on to your children. And so now we need to visualize, what is your life going to look like down the road? And Sita has an incredible visualization that she's going to share with us in order for us to really be able to hone in on exactly what that looks like. Take it away, C.
Yeah. Okay. Who meditates? Do all of you meditate? Have you ever meditated? Okay. So it'll be easy, I guess. I'm going to take you through a visualization meditation, and we're going on a journey, and we're going to go to the day when your child or your children, think of one child if you have several, maybe the first, when your child leaves your family home. Yeah. So this might be a few years away, or it might be a lot of years away, and you might think, nah, that's never going to come, but it's going to come quite soon. So I want you to, if you can, put your feet flat on the floor, uncross your arms and legs, put your head straight, and your neck and your back are tall. You can close your eyes, but you don't have to. Whatever feels more comfortable to you. Just relax your shoulders. And we're going to do a quick body scan just to relax you, and then we'll start the trip, the journey. Okay, so take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Another deep breath in and out. Make a noise if you want to. In and out. Now focus on your head. Think about your skull and relax your skull. Relax the skin on your face, your forehead. Relax your eyes. Relax your facial muscles. Relax your mouth. Think about your neck, You need to move it a bit to relax it. Do it now. Relax your shoulders, let them drop. Relax your arms. Feel the muscles in your arms get loose. Relax your stomach and your belly. Breathe into your hips. Relax your thighs. Let your thigh muscles get all loose and relaxed. Relax your knees. Breathe into your calves. Relax all the muscles in your calves. And relax your feet. Wriggle your toes a little bit. And feel how your feet are planted very firmly onto the ground, connecting you to earth. Breathe into earth. I'm going to take you on a journey into the future. Imagine a line in front of you. It goes from the left all the way as far as you can see to the right, all the way as far as you can see. One side is your past and one side is your future, and you'll know which is which. We're not worried about the past today. The past is good, peaceful. We don't need to look that way. Today, we're jumping onto that line and we're going into the future. Go all the way to the side of your future until you get to the day when your child is moving out of your family home. It's early morning of that day, and you are waking up. You're lying in bed and you're opening your eyes, and you've got mixed feelings because he's leaving. I'm going to say he, but you can replace that with she. He's leaving today, and you're a little bit sad, but a little bit proud and happy. And you get up and you all have breakfast as a family, all together. And your child is really excited to start a new part of his life. And after breakfast, you just finish loading the cars. And I'm saying cars because you're driving in your car and he's driving in his car. And it's a car he bought himself with his own money, and he's so proud of it. Both cars are fully loaded with his stuff. You get into the car and you drive to your child's new place. This could be college, it could be a military place, it could be just an apartment he's sharing or living by himself, herself. See that place, you get there, and it looks really nice. And when you get there, you help him unload and carry everything inside. And you help him unpack and put things in their right place. And as you're unpacking his computer and his financial papers, documents, you decide to just have one last look at his financial situation, his portfolio. And yes, he has a portfolio. Your child that's just moving out of home actually has a portfolio because he's so money savvy. He already has investments, and you're looking at his investments and they're going really well. And you're looking at his accounts and they have a healthy balance. He has an emergency fund. He has a safety net for crises that might come. He has quite a healthy balance on his retirement fund. And as you're looking through his financial situation one last time, you are so calm. Total calm overcomes you, because that was one of the biggest worries you had when he was a child, a little child. And now you know you don't have to worry about it. He's going to face challenges in his life. It's not going to be easy, but at least he will be able to cope financially because he knows how to do it. And as you're wrapping up, he takes your hand and he says, I want to invite you for dinner tonight. And normally you wouldn't accept that. You would pay for dinner. You wouldn't let your child invite you for dinner, but you're thinking, no, I will accept it. I will graciously accept his offer, which he means as a gift. And we will go for dinner in a really nice place. So when you get to the restaurant, you sit down and you're so proud of your child. And you order. And as you're waiting for your food, he gives you a gift. What's he giving you? I don't know. Can you see it? What is he giving you? It doesn't matter what it is, but it's something you love, and he put a lot of love in that gift. And he says, thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being such a conscious parent. I want to thank you for having done the work and taken the time and made the effort to think out of the box, to teach me financial intelligence, to teach me something not every parent teaches, and to give me the best start into my adult life I could possibly have. I appreciate you, and I love you. And your heart is just so full of emotion. And I'm tearing up every time I do this meditation, because I can see myself sitting there with my son. And I know I've done the best. And I'm so proud of myself and of him. And then you finish dinner and you're ready to say goodbye. And it's a lovely goodbye because you're happy for him. And then you get back into your car and you drive home. And as you're driving home, you're driving down your timeline slowly back into your present. And as you're driving down that timeline, you are full of emotions. You're full of pride and joy and maybe a little sadness. You know your emotions. You feel your emotions. Just feel your emotions. Listen to them. Accept them. And as you're slowly approaching present time on your timeline, you can feel the soles of your feet again on the ground. Wiggle your toes a bit. Wiggle your body. Just get back to the now. And when you're ready, you can slowly and mindfully open your eyes. Welcome back.
That always gets me, Sita, even though my kids are gone. I still get, wound up and full of emotions. And I'm sure that each and one of you have your own emotions that you experienced as you listened to her amazing visualization. What we would like you to do now is to take back out that piece of paper, and while they're still real vivid in your mind, write down the strongest feelings you had. What exactly did you feel during that visualization, especially at the end when you were driving back, when your child gave you that gift, when you saw how financially secure your child was? What were your strongest feelings? Go ahead and write that down. All right, and now sometimes it's kind of hard to feel the way you think you're going to feel in the future once you have whatever that feeling is. And so Sita has something that she'd like to share that we do sometimes to help us ground and really get in touch with those feelings.
Yeah. So, as I said, in order to manifest your dreams, you need to feel as if you already had it. And in a lot of areas of our life, it's very difficult to imagine that. I mean, a very typical one that I can think of immediately is if you want to lose weight, you want to, lose quite a lot of weight. If it's just a few kilos, it's not so difficult. But if you want to lose a lot of weight, how the hell can you feel as if you had already lost that weight if you just haven't? It's quite a difficult thing to imagine. So in order to feel that, I learned a hack which is called future gratitude. Future gratitude. Future gratitude is an exercise that is incredibly powerful, I think, really easy, and it helps you feel something that you want to have, you don't have yet, and you feel it as if you already had it. And we play a game that's called Remember When. So what you do is you say remember when, and then you say what you want to have, but you don't actually have yet. So, if I want to lose weight, I'll say remember when I lost 20 kilos, as if I had already done that. So I'll just play it for a minute or two with Amy, and you'll feel as we are doing it how the energy and the vibrations rise, because you get totally happy into, remembering what you don't have yet, but as if you had it. Right? You ready, Amy?
I'm ready.
Okay. Remember when we bought that beach house that was so big that we could invite all our friends and family to come over and have a great time with us?
I do. And do you remember when I actually put Duncan, my dog, in the plane that my husband bought, and we flew over in our private jet to the beach house? And
Yeah.
and not only that, but I was actually excited to put on a bathing suit. Do you remember that?
Remember when you had that new bathing suit and I said I want a new one too, and then we went and shopped for a new bikini, and I actually had to buy 2 sizes smaller than I normally buy. Do you remember that?
I know, you were so shocked. I was like, there's no need to be shocked. And do you remember when we went to out, and they played this on the beach? They had this band, and they asked us to join them in the music, and we sat there and we danced, and we thought,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, who else is going to join us? And then the whole entire beach joined in on our dance.
We had so much fun. And then do you remember the next day my son called and he got the dream job that he'd been applied for and that he'd been waiting for about a year? And he was so happy.
Yeah. And you remember I upped it, and remember my daughter, she always wanted to start a day camp for kids. And do you remember when she was struggling, and then all of a sudden it was like the floodgates opened and they had so many kids that they couldn't even house them all, and they had to like expand and get more land? Who would have thunk? It was incredible.
Yeah. Okay, you got the gist. This actually comes from a meditation teacher called Jack Cornfield. I think he's Canadian. And that's Remember When is his game. And it's really powerful if you want to feel as if you had something already that you don't have yet. So
Yeah,
have
because
fun.
that is actually the secret sauce in it all. In manifesting what you want, so often we're told to like do vision boards and meditate and visualize, and that is a very key step. But the secret sauce is to actually have that joy, that excitement in every cell of your being. And it's like Sita said, it's really hard to do when you're not where you want to be. You're not financially savvy, you don't have a huge retirement fund, you're not wherever that is, and realizing what it would be like when you do have it and feeling it on a cellular level is really the secret sauce.
Yeah, and try it. I mean, you actually feel it. I have it all vibrating inside me now. It's actually there. It's unbelievable. That is such a brilliant tool.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now we've established where you are. We've done a little visualization where you want to be, or where you might get to, or where you could go to. And now we need to take some action, to inspired action, to actually get there. So we'll give you a few tools that you can start now, as you're also using your tools for getting rid of your limiting beliefs. Now you can also start using tools to teach your kids money management, to become money
Exactly.
savvy. And Amy's going to share our number one secret.
Now, when you read this, you guys, I'll read it, but when you see this, you'll be like, oh, why didn't I think of that? That seems so common sense. In order to learn money management, your kids need money to manage. And what happens so often is when these little amazing human beings come out of us into this world, we are required, we have to do everything for them, from wiping their nose to feeding them to buying everything for them. But what we don't realize is that we're talking a lot about habits. We get into the routine and the habit of constantly doing this for them. And we don't even realize that they're capable of doing it for themselves. And so often we'll continue to buy all the things that we feel that they need or that they want, not realizing that they're capable of managing a little bit of money on their own. So giving your child some money to manage on a regular basis is the number one secret that we share with parents on how to raise money savvy kids.
Yeah, and that from a very young age as well. And I don't know about you, because we all live in different areas of the world, but I live in Italy, and in Italy, you are a good parent if you take care of your child. Um, Typically, people here don't give pocket money or allowance to their kids, because it's almost as if you weren't a good parent if you know they have to buy something with their own money. No, 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 no. You're a good parent if you take care of your child, you buy them what they need. You're a very good parent if you buy them their first car when they're 18, and you take care of them even when they go to university, and you pay for everything. And then they move into their first new home and they haven't got a clue what they're doing. But here, actually, a lot of my friends where I live now, they think I'm a bit cuckoo, because we give our son money, and we do it in a specific way, and we teach him what to do with it. But then he needs to buy stuff with his own money. And a lot of my friends there think I'm not a good mother. You're too harsh. That's too difficult. But actually, I'm doing him a favor.
You are, because like we talked about in the past, the money information that's been handed down generation to generation, a lot of it is pre-war time, and in the United States, pre-depression. And what happens is that all I got taught was save, put it in your piggy bank. Well, yeah, that's important, but there's so much more to money management. You need to learn how to spend it responsibly. And so this is the secret, to give them money to manage. The story, I won't go into the whole story, but there's a story about how if you bring somebody a fish, he'll eat for today. But if you teach somebody to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And as parents, we get into the habit of giving them money so they never learn how to live their life for a lifetime. And so that we can't impress upon you enough that it is really important to make sure your kids get to manage some money in order to get money savvy. And a lot of people will think, oh, they're too young. We need it to start in like high school. And I'm not going to say that it's too late. You've just missed out on an opportunity to have them practice for a long period of time to perfect that skill. It is a skill that they need to perfect. And the longer they have to perfect it, the better.
Yeah. And we just want to show you what we think the three main rules that circulate our society, myths that we think are just rubbish.
Yeah.
So this one is myth number 1. My kids are too young to learn and handle money. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you that research shows that to be totally and completely false. I wish I had one of those big things that goes, false. Not true. Again, when we were talking about beliefs, is it true? This one is not true. There are many studies that show that children as young as 5 can and do really well with managing money. Typically, once they start learning how much each denomination of your money is, they will start learning how to count money. And that is the perfect time to start giving them some money to manage. So we advise parents to start their kids as young as 5 and 6. I've actually had someone start as young as 4 who had an older sibling. And the younger sibling wanted to do what their brother did, their older sibling did, and did really well with managing money as well. They're at the younger levels, they're primarily learning that there's an exchange that takes place, that we give this money in order to get things, and eventually it goes and blossoms from there.
Yeah. Right, that's myth number 2. I'm not good with money and budgeting, so I can't teach it to my kids. I think a lot of parents have that, Amy.
Well, I am living proof that is a myth. That is a rule that is not correct. I used to think that budgeting, you guys, was to spend every penny that came in on a paycheck and then hunker down or put it on credit until the next paycheck came in. My kids don't live like that. I told you about my scarcity mindset, about how we couldn't afford that gift that my husband gave us. My children don't have those beliefs. They don't have those thoughts. They don't live their life in those ways. I still, on occasion, will find these deep-rooted beliefs popping up that I have to keep continuing to squash and overcome. And I did not pass them on to my kids. So just because I wasn't good with my money, even though I couldn't get ends to meet, I taught my kids a better way. And I am no different than any of you. I am not special in that way. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah. Teaching kids about money takes time. I don't have time. My life is crazy enough. Yeah, I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah, especially with virtual learning and everything else, our time is a prized possession that we just seem to have in short supply. I will tell you that I learned a way and implemented a way that it doesn't take any more time. We don't tell you to sit down and teach your kids, about budgeting and about all of these things. It's implemented into your everyday life. When you're going to the store and you're buying things, you're just having a conversation. And it's not one of those serious ones like, oh, this versus this. And the kids are a lot of times too young to have those in-depth conversations. So they're little things that they're learning to do hands-on, and hands-on doesn't take any additional time because they're actually doing it while life is happening. A lot of people also Sita touched on allowance, and giving your child an allowance. We talk a lot about in our course, but that is a very time-consuming task for parents. Because
just explain what you mean with allowance, Amy, because I think maybe the Europeans don't know the
difference.
I didn't.
Okay, so many people in the States tie money to chores. So they'll give their child a chore to do. Let's say it's empty the dishwasher. And if you empty the dishwasher every night for a week, I'll give you $1. The problem is that if you have multiple children and the children trade chores or decide not to do a chore for one of the nights or two of the nights, now you're having to micromanage. Okay, what night did you empty the dishwasher? How many times? How much do I need to? We don't have the brain capacity. We have so much we're juggling. We don't want to have to micromanage our kids. And to be honest with you, this is my belief. I know a lot of people believe differently, but I don't get paid to make dinner. I don't get paid to do the laundry. I'm not paying my kids to empty a dishwasher. You live here, you dirty the dishes, you can empty the dishwasher. I do pay my children for other things, additional tasks in and above family household chores, but we don't pay for chores. And again, those are things that we cover in the course. But what I'm trying to tell you is that it is not time consuming. We are not micromanaging how much money and when and what it's tied to and all of that. There's a very simple, easy, streamlined process. So this whole myth is just that, a myth, and another thing that's not true.
Yeah, right. Okay, so this is the number one tool. This is where we start with every child to teach them money management. Do you want to run through that, Amy? And can you just keep in mind as you're talking that, is it Ashley? Ashley's child is 16, I think, Ashley?
Yes.
Yeah. So we might want to give information for smaller children and somebody who's a little bit older already.
Older. Okay.
Thank you.
The way that this works is you set up 3 jars, spending being the smallest, saving being the middle, and what we call the car jar for kids being the largest. The car jar is to simulate retirement or money you're going to need when you no longer have to work. A lot of people are saving in retirement funds or in savings accounts or whatever vehicle, investments, however you decide to do it, but that is way beyond their capacity when you're talking to a child. So we equate it to something they can associate with, and that is the car jar. And what we advocate is that you give them a specific amount of money on a regular basis. We start them out weekly. And you give them money for each of the jars, and they put money in each of the jars. And you never give them what you think they need. You give them a little bit less, because in life, we have to make decisions. We don't have enough money to buy everything we want all at the same time. We need delayed gratification. We need to plan. So the way that this works is spending is like if you were to go to the grocery store, to the toy store, or here we have a dollar store. And if you were to go to a dollar store, they would take their spending money and they would be able to buy something at the store when you go. The savings money is for things that are a little bit more than they would be getting once a week. So let's just use a simple thing. Let's say that we give them $1 per jar per week. So let's say they put the money in one in each jar. At the end of the week, you're at the dollar store, they take their spending money, they buy a toy or a candy bar or whatever they want at the store. Their savings jar would be for something that would cost more than $1, that they would have to take a couple of weeks to save for, or even longer. When your kids get older, like Sita's son, he likes to buy computer games. Those are typically, in the States, they're typically $60, $60. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to acquire the funds in order to buy what you might want. And that money is what they're saving for. Now, if they don't have something, or if they realize they can take their spending money and, I don't really want the toy, I don't want the candy bar, and they want to put everything in their savings jar and not buy anything for a while, they have the ability to do that because it's their decision. I can't express this enough. It's their decision. And then they have the car jar. The car jar they cannot touch, just like our retirement, until they're much older. Now, For the person that has a 16-year-old, this is how we do this until they get to be the age of 16. You might need to have some other future thing for your 16-year-old. Maybe your car jar is still a car jar. Maybe it's you buying your first home. Maybe it's, having a month's vacation in Europe. Something that's long term, that they're not going to touch the money and it's going to take them quite a while to save for. That's the concept of the car jar. The savings jar is for something that we would consider like a vacation. We would save our money every month so that we could take our family on a vacation. That would be a savings jar. And a spending jar would be our weekly groceries. So that's how it relates to us, and that's how you can relate it to your children. And then and giving them a certain amount of money each week per jar allows them to better manage it and make those decisions. And without getting into, obviously in the course we go into a lot more detail, but this will at least get you started, giving your kids vehicles to put them in and determining how much you give your child. Remember, you in the beginning, you're still covering their needs. There's a difference between a need and a want. I would never have to have my 7-year-old pay for their own food. That is a need. But you want a computer game, you want a handheld game, you want a book, you want, just fill in the blank. That's a want that you're going to have to buy. You want to buy your girlfriend or boyfriend a gift for the holidays. That's on you. That is a want, that is not a need. And that's something that they can easily and happily manage. What you will find by giving them money to manage is that they feel empowered, they feel adult, they feel responsible. It removes your worry, your stress, your fear, your frustration, your shame. It removes all of that because now you're giving that decision-making ability to your child. You're not taking that on. And if your child decides that they're going to spend their money on a particular object, then they can do that. And they have to then forego some other things, in order to make that purchase.
Yeah.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think it's important to add, so if you have little children and you think that they're going to spend the spending money on a dollar's toy or a candy bar, it's important that you then don't buy that anymore. Don't give them the money for it and buy it for them the next time you go shopping. Don't. You're going to have to be able to say no. No, in the way of, no, you've got your own money. That's why you're getting it. And then you can decide now, do you want to buy a toy or do you want to buy a candy bar? And and the savings the same. If my son, for example, I don't know, he's got headphones that he got, old headphones from me. So he already got them from me. And then he decided he wanted something more expensive. Well, you don't need that, do you? That's a want. So I said, take your savings money and buy it. And if you don't have it yet, you need to save for it. It eliminates a lot of argument as well, because he actually gets what he wants. And that's why I said in the beginning, my son actually buys the clothes he wants. He buys designer clothes because he chooses to have less clothes, but more expensive ones. If I were to buy his clothes, I would probably buy him more, but not as expensive. And he wouldn't be happy about it. I would think I've done him a good job. I'm a good parent, and he would not wear them. And then we would get frustrated and upset, and we would argue, and everybody's unhappy. Like this, and clothing is a little bit different. We do also talk about that in the course. But basically, what we do is, you decide how much money you spend on clothing, and you tell them how much they have available, and then they choose what they want to buy. And my son absolutely loves it because he's at that age where they are so influenced by branded clothes. Suddenly from one day to the other, our cute little kids that wear everything we buy them don't want to wear that stuff anymore.
Well, they have
Suddenly-
opinions. They start to
Yeah,
get
suddenly-
opinions,
Exactly.
you
And
know,
all their
and
friends, it's a social thing. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it does. And he decides what he buys. So he has maybe only 2 pairs of trousers or 3 hoodies for the whole winter, but he bought what he wanted. He's super happy, and everybody's happy. We don't argue.
yeah.
So,
And you would think, you know, back in the day, if you wore the same hoodie, same 2 hoodies every single week for the entire winter, you would be afraid people would make fun of you. But that would be your decision. So
yeah.
giving that decision onto them relieves that stress and that fear and that shame that we often put upon ourselves. We have a person in our course now who said that her mind it has been life changing because she has 3 children and they're constantly asking her for money. Can I have this? Can I have this? Can I have $1 for this? Can I have $5 for that? And she says they no longer ask her for money. They no longer say that's not fair. There's no more arguments. There's so much more harmony. They feel empowered. It's amazing the transformation you'll see. Now, what Sita's talking about with doing of purchasing clothing, that is not something that we have 4, 5, 6-year-olds doing.
No.
Let me just be clear. That is not something we start them out small with small things. We start them out so that they can be successful in managing things on their own, and they progress to that. Her son has been doing the program for years before he got to that point. So I wouldn't, you know, if all of a sudden your eyes get really big and you're like, oh. Now for the person who has a 16-year-old, absolutely, your 16-year-old would be jumping all over that. And the nice thing is that you will end up spending less. You have a certain budget, you give it to them, they manage it, the end. There is no extra.
No
And they
arguments.
make it work. They make it work and they're happy and they feel awesome in the clothes. And to see your kids feel so empowered and proud, and the fact that they bought it themselves is just mind-blowing for a parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I think
So,
we need to, yeah.
we don't want to keep you too long. So I just want to do a quick recap. Let me take this down. Just want to do a quick recap. We started off today, investigating where you are now. We talked about your knowledge and your consciousness, and bringing that things that you are in your subconscious to your conscious, and taking action and doing action over and over and over again in order to create a new habit and make it, create knowledge and consciousness around that belief or that item. We then went on to talk about where do you want to be? What do you want to manifest? And we took you on a visualization. We gave you some tools. We told you the secret sauce is to actually feel it. We shared with you our game, the Remember When game, so that you could actually, instill it in every cell of your body and feel something that you don't yet have. And then we just finished giving you some tools and some information so that you can take these things and start hitting the pavement running, teaching your kids something different that you didn't know, and setting them up for success with the tools and the techniques that we've given you. And so now we just want to take a few minutes of your time, and we want to open it up for questions. I think that the easiest way to do this, Sita, is for them to raise their hand, and then we'll call on them. And that way we can make sure that we answer everyone's question.
Does anybody have any questions?
So if you have a question, go ahead and either raise your hand, unmute yourself, type it in the chat, however you feel most comfortable. If we haven't covered something, or we left something that was unclear, or you're curious about, we'd love to make that clear for you. Fancy. I guess we did such a great job that nobody has any questions.
There you go. Perfect. What amount of money would you start with for 10-year-old boy? Okay. Okay, let me answer that because my son is only a little bit older and he started when he was 10 roughly. Okay, first answer is it totally depends on your financial situation. There's no amount that you have to give him or that him or her. Oh boy, yeah, him. We did, when he was 10, we did $3 per jar per week, or two, maybe 2 or 3, something like that. He's now 13 and he gets 4. But I know people who do still 2 at this age. So it totally depends what you can afford, really.
Well, that and also what you're going to have them buy. You know, a lot of it, and where you live, what the cost of living is where you live.
Yes.
Because in some areas, even in the United States, you know, you could give them a quarter per jar and they would have more than enough money to buy stuff. You want them to have at least a little bit of money so that in where I live, we did $1 per jar until they got into, I want to say, what was it, like middle school maybe? So around 11, 12, and then we upped it. We changed it up a little bit. But to start them out, I would give them the same amount. And it depends on what you want them to buy. If he's really into, I want to buy all my friends birthday presents, then you need to figure out about how much money they're going to need to do that. Now, let me tell you, the gifts that our kids give to each other versus the gifts that a parent would buy for a child are 2 totally different things. In the United States, it's really challenging to find an adequate birthday present for a child that's less than $30. But when a child gives another child a birthday present, a lot of times they either make it or they go to the dollar store or they take something that they currently have and repurpose it and give it to somebody. So don't think just because you spend $20 on a gift that your child is going to need $20. Your child probably only needs a couple of dollars. They can go to a dollar store and get their friend a gift. It's not so much the dollar amount, it's more the thought behind it and the ability to buy it himself. So depending on how much you want him to purchase and be responsible for, I would start him out smaller first. So less money and handling less things that he needs to buy until he gets the confidence of doing it. And then you can always, it's much easier to increase, you guys, than it is to take away. So start them out with less and increase it, which is what I did initially. I found that the money I was giving wasn't enough. And so I just increased it a little bit.
Okay, here's one for you, Amy. How do your kids invest their money? Because with the 3 jars, there's no compounding effect.
That's a great question. Eventually, we do advocate that the card jar money be moved into a bank account. And we don't so much go into how investing, but we do go into how to utilize that and start Roth in the United States, Roth retirement accounts and all of that. But yes, this is just the start. But there's a lot of steps to go through to get to there. There is the steps to get compounding interest and take advantage of it. And that's what my kids did early on, so that the fact that they have the amount that they have now in their early 20s, compounding, but even if they didn't put another dime in, they would be millionaires by the time they retire. So very good point. Yes, we take advantage of compounding interest. Absolutely.
And okay, would you give a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old the same amount of money?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because at 4 and at 6, they're buying the same things for themselves. My daughters are 18 months apart. So a lot of times they're like 4 and 6 or like 4.5 and 6. And they always got the same amount until they got to the next level. When I found that the one that was older went to high school, her needs and her wants were bigger. And so that's when we increased it. But there are stages that they go through, and at 4 and 6, they're in pretty much the same stage. It's not until they get older that that disparity would come into play.
Yeah. What would be a good purpose for the car jar with a 6 and an 8-year-old?
Not sure what you mean by good purpose. The car jar is for a 6 and an 8-year-old. They see you driving a car. They know that one day they're going to want their own car, and this gives them the ability to save for that car.
I think it needs to be something. Sorry, it needs to be something that your kids can relate to, that they would love to have in a future that they can imagine. Not retirement is too far away for a child. It doesn't care about retirement. We have one child doing our course at the moment. She's 6, I think, or 5. She's 5, and she actually wants it to be a house jar. She wants it to save for her first home. So it's, if they have a big dream that is quite far in their imaginable future, that's what your car jar stands for.
Yeah.
Mm.
Great questions, you guys. Really great questions.
Yeah. Okay. Right. We're overrunning on time. I'm very sorry. I didn't think it would take this long, but we got in the flow.
How to teach them to start a business.
Whoa.
Okay, that one is I'm gonna have to table that for another conversation, because we go into depth in the course, and that's not something that's a quick and easy answer. We do advocate teaching them to start a business. Thibaut is on his way to start a business.
My son,
The children in our course right now who are young, I think that Michelle, the one that has, I think her 7-year-olds are looking at starting a business. So yes, we do advocate starting a business, and that is covered in the course. And I don't mean to put that off and say you have to get the course. It's just a huge conversation and kind of hard at this point to answer.
Okay. And I did say very explicitly that we're not going to promote the course, and we don't want to. But you have to understand that if we do a 2-hour workshop, we can't cover everything, and I'm very sorry that we can't. And if you are really interested, then maybe you do want to have a look at the course. Okay, is the business something like a lemonade stand, or is it a little bit more complex?
It's more complex.
A bit more complex, yeah. But,
and it's amazing that children at young ages are capable of handling that and are excited about handling that. And like I said, is the business thought to do beside the university? I don't understand that question. Is the business thought to do beside the university?
Yeah. Okay. Like, because you told that I don't know. So is it that the kids go to the university and have their business, or do they or is it thought that they just, after college or high school, they start with a business and stay with the business then later?
Okay.
Like,
Understood.
can be
Yeah, it's not something that they have to go to they don't need to wait until they're teenagers to start the business and do while they're in the university or after. My children actually started their business when they were in elementary school. And so
it was temporarily, it wasn't forever. They're not business women. It was something that they learned how to do a business, and then they moved on.
Right. And they actually had their business from elementary school all the way up until college. And so it just depends on the child and the business. But yeah, we do explain how they can do that in detail in the course. It's a more complex answer than we can give in like 30 seconds or less. But yes, we do think that people should start a business. Kids should start a business.
And not necessarily, as I said, it doesn't need to be that they then don't go to university and they just continue with that business. It's part of their financial education, basically. And most kids go to university.
And another revenue
and then
stream.
move on. Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
revenue stream for them. So
Yeah.
if they decide to continue with it.
Mm.
But yeah, great questions. Great
Yeah.
questions, you guys.
Mm.
Thank
you.
Well, we hope that you've gotten all that you came for. We hope that we gave you the information that was promised and hopefully even more. And we hope that that you're now on the road to where you want to be and have the tools to get there. Please feel free to let us know how if we met all the things that you came here for, if we touched on all of them. And if not, I would love to know which ones we missed so that we can incorporate them into our next presentation. Because if you have that, desire, I'm sure someone else does as well.
Yeah. And yeah, I want to say thank you too. It was really nice that you were interested in doing this with us. And if you are, interested to learn a little bit more about the subject, we will share our website with you.
Oh, yes,
and you can just have a look at your leisure and see what interests you. It's lilolacoaching.com, which stands for Live, Love, Laugh, which is what we're all about. So live, love, laugh.
Yeah, because we think that everyone's lives need a little more love and laughter.
Yes, for sure. And if you look under learning tools on the website, there's tons of stuff there that we give for free. Just downloads, PDFs that you can download that we hope are useful to parents. And if you are interested in the course, it's there, of course, as well. There's an ebook that Amy wrote, but there's lots of free stuff. We're not just trying to sell, we're trying to educate and to spread the word. One child at a time, as many as possible that will be debt free, and as many parents as possible that will be worry free, because that's what we really want.
Yeah.
And if you follow us on social media, you can do that as well, of course. So we're Instagram, it's all Lilola Coaching, Live, Love, Laugh, Lilola Coaching, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And then most of you can connect with me through our Facebook groups as well, because that's where you found me.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time on a Sunday to hang out with us. We appreciate you coming out and learning a little bit more about the subject. And I hope that you have a sunshine-filled Sunday.
Soulful Sunday.
Soulful Sunday.
Silly as well. Just a little
yes.
Take care, everyone. Have a lovely evening or afternoon. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.